Okay, so now we'll look at what's called the past progressive or the past continuous. And again, don't worry about the names so much, not so important. But really, this is all about how we describe things that happened in the past, and we want to focus on being in the moment or actually experiencing that time. Because usually when we use this, either another thing was happening at the same time, two things at the same time, or one thing was happening and something stopped it. That's how we usually use this. Something was happening and then another very important thing went and stopped that thing or interrupted it. And we say that thing that was happening as a way to say basically a little bit of context or a little bit of background before we say this really important thing. Alright, so let's talk about the first one first. The one where there are two things going on. We use often was, or were, and then when we use the verb, we use ing. We use ing after it. So if you use was and were, the verb after it will usually be ing, okay? And two things are happening at the same time. He was playing football, and she was watching. Watching what? Well, watching him play football, right? He was playing football and she was watching. If we use we, then we would say we were, right? He was playing football and we were watching. Two things going on at the same time. One action, this person, one action, she, or one action, we, okay? That one's pretty simple. The other one actually is a little bit more common. So let me erase this and then we'll look at the other one. Alright, now for this one, we often use this one when we're telling stories because some important thing happened in the story and we want to give a little bit of background information about the thing that was happening right before that important thing. Okay? So we have an action, that's going on, and then the thing stops it. We often say but. When is probably the most common. Sometimes we also use until. And then when we say the second action, that one should be just simple past. So was, ing, were, ing, and then until, when, and then simple past. Let me give you an example. All right, example. I was eating lunch when, when, okay, so was eating lunch. When, now the important thing happens. I got, simple past, I got a phone call, or a phone call. And then we can say what the phone call was about. I got a phone call from my sister who told me that blah, 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 blah. Something important happened. Something terrible happened. Something great happened. Whatever. But we use this to give a little bit of background before the phone call. This is really, really common. So here's another one. We were waiting for the call or the gift or the letter or whatever. It doesn't matter. We were waiting for the call, but it never came. We were waiting for the call. Were waiting. But it never came. Came is the simple past tense. Okay, that one's pretty simple as well. We want to focus on the fact that it didn't come. Okay, it never came. But we want to say we were waiting to give us a feeling that this is an important thing that this didn't happen. This is really making me angry. We waited 10 weeks for this letter to come and it never came. Right? So you can show your frustration by using this were waiting, was waiting, okay? She was speaking about her passion for accounting. It's a little boring, right? Until someone, oops, that's an M, someone in the audience stood up and said, "Stop!" Okay, so I'll put quotes around this. Okay, so said is the simple past. That's the thing that happened. But if someone just stood up and said, "Stop," there would be no context, no situation. If we say, "She spoke," and someone stood up and said, "Stop," that's not really what was happening before. It doesn't give us a feeling of this action and then something that completely stops it. So we need to use was speaking here. She was speaking until someone in the audience stood up and said, "Stop." Now that's kind of a weird example, but hopefully it gives you an idea for why we would use was or were plus ing and then use the simple past. And I want to make sure I'm clear that I'm not trying to offend any accountants out there. If you're an accountant, I admire you because I think accounting is a little boring. And so if you're able to do something that's very hard, I respect you.